Hello, everyone, and happy Monday. Hope everyone had a great weekend. Well, we are coming to you with a completely new topic. There is something called Lu Jong Tibetan Yoga. I did not even know what it means. So that's why we have Dr. Pachai here with us. She is a general practitioner as well as a medical acupuncturist joining me live from UK. Thank you so much, Dr. Pachai, for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
All right, we don't even understand what Lu Jong Tibetan Yoga means. So maybe just start with an overview and then we can go a little bit into details.
Okay, yeah. So Lu Jong is a form of Tibetan yoga. So it is a physical practice. Now, I think that, a lot of us are familiar with mindfulness and meditation that comes from Buddhism. But we don't know about the physical practices that have mostly been kept secret, and they're only now being shared with people. So some people may have heard of things like Tsalung, Trulko, Tumo. These were all terms that I had never heard of before. And I came across Lu Jong quite by accident. A friend of mine went to a class in Spain. And she was aware that I was looking for a yoga to teach because I realized that Western medicine doesn't provide all the answers to patients. And sometimes patients come to me and they have, they need more lifestyle measures. And so I found myself once standing up in a consulting room and showing my patient a few yoga movements that I had learned in my classes. And that's when I thought, okay, I need to become a yoga teacher. And so why I found I liked Lu Jong is because it offers a 10-minute practice that is easy to learn, that people can learn and they can do in their everyday life. Now, Lu Jong comes from Tibetan Buddhism, it comes from Tantrayana, and it comes from Bon. So Bon is the shamanic practice that was practiced by people in Tibet before Buddhism even came to Tibet. And so people lived in close association with nature. Yeah, and so that's why the 5 elements movements, the 5 elements is very much a practice that connects with nature. And, so the names of the movements, you have space, earth, wind, fire, water. And even the names of the movements are all related to things that people could see around them. Because, one of the things that's very interesting about the Tibetan practices and the way they were taught is initially they were only taught by one master to one student in his lifetime. And they were always taught verbally. So they needed things from nature to help remind the students. And so it's a very interesting practice. And the other thing that I like about it is that it is ideal for people to do in our later years. So, after the age of 40, we tend to naturally not want to strain our bodies, and we're less agile, and we're less able to do all the complex yoga movements that we find in, things like Ashtanga yoga. So that's something else about Lu Jong, is that, people can do it well into their, silver and golden years. So I have lots of people who are actually in their 60s and 70s who are doing Lu Jong with me. And, it helps to improve their physical health. So it helps to improve the spine, so the strength and flexibility of the spine and all the joints in the body. It helps to also connect the mind and body through breath. So something else that is in the breathing practices that are part of the Tibetan practices, they also help to access our subtle body. Now, this is something that I had not heard of before. And, throughout my medical training is the subtle body. So in Tibetan medicine and Tibetan practices, and also, other Vedic yoga practices, they recognize the subtle body as that part of our body where disease, illness, and unhappiness first starts. So that is very much on our energy body level. So, when people start to feel tired and they feel exhausted, they feel, a kind of a dullness in their mind. This is all almost warning signs from the body that we may not be doing something. But what we often do is we just ignore it. So when we tune into our energy body, we can actually help to not only prevent illness, but maybe even treat illness. So I'm sure you've come across the chakras before.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So some of the things that you're saying resonates a lot with, some of the Ayurveda principles, right? That they also talk about the three doshas and they combine the elements, the different elements. Even the Chinese therapy, the food therapy, they also have the elements, right? They have different elements, element of wood and other things, but similar concepts. So I think what we want to understand is that you said there are 5 elements. What does each 5 element denote, in this particular yoga practice, and how are they different? And you said, are they similar to like Qigong and Tai Chi? That's what we want to understand a little bit about. This is not a demo. We're not doing a demo, but just an overall understanding of what these 5 elements denote and what do they talk about or emphasize in each of the elements.
Okay, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked because, so Lu Jong is almost like, it's a little bit like Tai Chi and Qigong in that you have like moving meditation because they are moving meditations. How Lu Jong is different is that woven into the practice, into the 5 elements practice is a method to help manage negative emotions. Okay, so for instance, we start with the space element. Okay, so the space element is a movement so it's a very simple movement, but when we think about this, so we think about the spaces around us. Okay, so we have space in our mind, we have space in our body, and we know that we think about, or we feel different in different spaces. If you are in a confined space, you feel very uncomfortable. If you are in a space that is too big, we can feel quite anxious as well. So the space that we are in is very important. Now, everything else is contained within space. All the other elements are contained within space. As a symbol of space, we have the Tibetan goose. Okay, so now the Tibetan goose, it flies high up in the sky, it stands with its feet widely spaced when it drinks, so it reminds us of space. Okay, space allows for growth, for separation, for discernment. It allows us to be creative. It also reminds us about abundance. Now, the negative emotion that is associated with the space element is miserliness. Okay, so when we are miserly, we hold back. And we're not just talking about miserliness of money, of sharing money, but it's also our time, it is our expertise. So everything is all about, it's all about generosity and abundance. If we come to any situation in our lives with an attitude of generosity and abundance, then it creates more opportunities for us. So, being aware of space in our everyday lives, is really important, or the concept or the idea of space. Okay, so when we do this practice on a daily basis, not only are we doing physical practice and breathing, but we are also thinking about important emotions, that plague us on a regular basis. And in this way, Lu Jong is different because we're not only focusing on the physical body and the breath, but we are becoming aware of our thoughts. So that is the space element. And then each of the other elements, so we have earth, wind, fire, and water, and they are all associated with a different element or a different negative emotion. So like, for instance, the fire element is associated with anger. When we are angry, we need to practice patience, and what we will have is more compassion. Now, I'll go back to space element because I didn't mention miserliness. So when we are feeling miserly, what we need to do is practice generosity. And what will become available to us is equanimity. So equanimity is that feeling of everything is fine, and we have complete balance, so, and actually, with Lu Jong, we not only want to balance the body, but we want to transform the body. We want to transform negative emotions so that they don't stay with us. Because it's so, something that happened recently, it's very topical with what happened with Will Smith. He was angry. In that moment of anger, he reacted. Whereas if he had taken a step back, thought about it, but that it was very complex, that whole situation was very complex, but he reacted in a moment of anger. And if he had been taken that count to 10 if you're angry, because what that does is it allows for space. It allows for space to consider what is going on, what is actually happening, and it allows you to take a different action. And so, the world is, we all have compassion for him, for his actions, because, of his experiences in his life. So we can then use these concepts that are, they've got authentic roots, the authentic wisdom practices and concepts that can help us to make sense of our everyday lives. And so this is what I suppose inspires me about Lu Jong, and is why I teach it, and is why I'm talking to you about it today.
I think this is fascinating. I love the concepts. Today's session is a quick 10 to 15 minute, just a quick intro about Lu Jong, what Lu Jong is, and as we talked about, we will be bringing workshops to kind of further make people understand the difference and how they can also easily do, like you said, into their golden years and beyond, because the yoga is a little bit more acrobatics sometimes. Some of the yoga poses. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
So anything else you'd like to add about it, or expand on some of the other concepts before we wrap up today?
So one other thing I love about Lu Jong is the flexibility it allows, because you can learn these 5 movements, you can do them in 10 minutes, and you can do them outdoors. So you don't need any special equipment, you don't need any special clothes. You can do them on the beach, you can do them in the park, you can do them in your hotel room when you're traveling. So it reduces your dependence on a teacher, and it becomes a self-practice. And I think what the other thing it does is it also helps to balance our masculine and feminine sides, and understand that we all have a masculine and feminine side, and how this can help to empower us, to be emotional, but also to be strong, and the importance of having a balance of both. So yes, I could talk for hours about Lu Jong, but...
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Pachai, for introducing us to this beautiful modality called Lu Jong, your Tibetan yoga. I think a lot of more people need to be aware of that. So that's what I personally felt when we talked about this particular topic. So we are going to try to do this as much as we can from Nourish Talk. So stay tuned and keep supporting us, and stay tuned for all our platform launch that we are launching, sort of like a very affordable that people can learn about holistic lifestyle. So thank you so much for supporting us.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
for creating it. Bye.
Yes.